we're going to take a look at how you can open up the default ARMA maps and kind of explore their worlds and see what they use for certain resources, kind of see how they do things. This video may cut a little bit here or there, just kind of as I travel around the world and try to locate these items. So you can open up the default maps in your project. So like if I were to open up tutorials here, which I'll do here in a minute, you can open them up from there. Or if you want to kind of just make a project that you use just to explore those worlds, you can. So that way, you know, if you're afraid you may mess with your map at all, you can do that. If you're not familiar, which you should be at this point, you can click Add Project. You would create a new project, and then you would change the name. You know, you could do it as, you know, Preview ARMA Map, whatever you want to name it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to open up one I already have here. So you're going to go to the World Editor. You're going to click Open. And you want to open up the ARMA Reforger folder, Worlds. And let's look at, I'll just go by name, Arland first. So you're going to put up arland.ent, not empty Arland. All right, I believe, is this the, yep, this is the smaller map. It's been a while since I've played these. So just in case you're not familiar with the controls, in the viewport, you can hold right mouse click, and this will move you around in the world here. If you use your basic movement controls on the keyboard, WASD, and then W and Z to get you up and down, that's just basic movement. So let's say we wanted to find out what an item is, what ARMA uses for items. You can left click on the item. You'll see that it kind of covers itself in the green outline here. And then after you click on it on the keyboard, you're going to hit the letter P. And it'll bring you in your resource browser to that item inside its folder. It'll also show you the path, the folder path that it uses. And it gets you that exact item. So what I like to do is I like to take a screenshot. So for me, on my computer on Windows 11, I can hit print screen. And I like to get its hierarchy name over on the left there, which should match what it is here as well. And take a screenshot. And so for me, it saves in my screenshots folder, which is over here. And, you know, you can get a different perspective of it, you know, where you get kind of more of a view from this side if you want. Take another screenshot. And there it is again. You can rename it if you want. I haven't done this in a while. This is something I did in the beginning. What I actually did was I named a different folder. So I I'll even do it here. Choose them. You can cut. Where is it at? And I just use Control X. So I'll just do that. Control X. Go into the folder that you made, which I named as Map Item Screenshots. And you can see I have all kinds of other stuff in here. So let's see, you know, this here is kind of cool looking, right? So on the hierarchy side, you can see what the prefab is. So it's garbage stack 01 medium. And then because they have other of these in the world, it adds I believe it would be called a suffix at the end there. So again, the easiest way is click on the item, hit P. It'll bring you right to it. What I see people tend to recommend is copy what ARMA does, right? Because they're the developers. So if they're using objects like this out of the prefabs folder, not prefab library, that is probably what you want to do. I was using houses out of the prefab library folder, but ARMA itself uses the prefab folder. So let's look and see if we can find some cool stuff around. Here's this. Again, hitting P on the keyboard brings you to that. You can see how they line up their fences and their gates. A good example here, like a lot of people, would, myself included, would actually just use this same fence or okay, I see what they did. Yep, see here, we're learning. They use this fence here to connect to that post, and then they used a fence here that goes post to post. So if you notice, this prefab here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, doesn't have a fence post at the end of it, right? So that's how they were able to get it in to this without the other side of the post kind of glitching through it. Instead of using this, it has two posts on it. Let's see. What did they put? Did they put anything in this one? Nope. So I'm just kind of roaming around seeing, what did they do? How did they place things around? Just taking note of how they just made things look, look at their art style. Obviously you're not going to be copying it to a T, but, just kind of seeing what they did. Here you've got kind of a, where two hills meet, and in the middle of that, it's down a little bit because of a river flowing here. The different grasses they use. You want to find that grass. You can see that. You can, if you want to kind of do something like this in your world, again, take a screenshot. Hit on, again, Windows 11 keyboard print screen. Take a screenshot of it. This way you can kind of reference it later on. I haven't done this in a while myself. I need to do it a little bit more regularly, just to see a little bit more of someone else's art style in it. They are using oh, you can't mess with the terrain here, so you won't be able to see that list here. But this terrain paint here, I believe it's called rock debris or debris rock. Look how they're mixing it in with the grass. They're using, I think these are clusters. Yeah, granite cluster. These are another great one to learn about. These are granite cliff. How are they? So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see. Yeah, you're not going to be seeing splines and generators. Okay. I don't know if they use an object brush. I don't know if they use splines. Yeah, you can see the vector tool. All right. I don't know if they use the vector spline tool to make these for us. I'm not sure. I'm just not going to even try to take a guess. But from what's on the left here, I don't see a spline for the tree. But when you click on this in the vector tool, and you click on that, you can see this is a spline. This is a river medium. Let's see, will this work? Yeah, it worked. So you can find out where they're pulling generators from, which is prefab WE generators for a river. Where else might they have something? What's this? Oh, this is a good example here. So look at how they did this. These are called embankments. And it looks like they actually used a polyline for embankments out of all straight. So I'm actually curious how exactly they did that. I wonder if they made their own generator or if they placed an item in there. But looks like the same thing here. And let's see. Can we load up object properties? The scale is 1. All right, they left the scale all the same, but they're moved around. So I'll have to look into that a little bit more later. But that's pretty cool. I've heard of people doing that. I've not seen that though. That does look really good. But it looks like here they added just the embankment itself. And this is really my first time looking through this map like this. I've looked at, was it Everon? I looked at Everon before, but not this one in particular. So this is actually my first time really looking through this myself. They got a sign there, sign wild animals. So, and you also, the other thing too is you can kind of learn what they start to call things. So, a lot of their signs in this folder here look like they begin with the word sign. So as you get a little bit more experienced, you can learn what to type in the resource browser to find what you're looking for later on. And you're primarily going to be working, if you're not aware of this already, out of the prefab library and prefabs folder. The difference that I'm aware of is the prefab library, which if you look, let me just find an item. Here we go, lamps. Lamp street, if you notice, is purple, whereas something that is in the other library, or I'm sorry, the other folder, I should say, is blue. The purple items tend to have a little bit more of a randomness to them, especially trees and bushes and grass. They'll rotate a little bit as you place them. They will vary in scale, their size. Just so that way it's not cookie cutter. Every tree is rotated the same. Every tree is the same size. Just changes a little bit. So if you look here, there's decals they have for dirt. So there's a whole decal folder with footprints, crossroads, like a pedestrian walk path. There's the dirt tracks, this dirt path here. So, this is something you could take a screenshot of and look and go, oh, this is really cool. They did a dirt crossroad leading up to a dirt path going up the hill, and they use these decals to kind of make this dirt overlay into the road a little bit. So that's something you can maybe take a screenshot of, and kind of use that same art style into your world. These stone walls here, are they? All right. It doesn't look like they're in a spline, or I'm sorry, would that be a polyline? Yeah, polyline. So in your world, when you're placing things down, you, for walls and fences and stuff like that, you're going to most likely be using the polyline. There is a glitch right now where it stacks the items. I'm not going to get into that, but when things are right with the world again, a polyline is what you're going to use the majority of the time for walls and fences. You can use spline on some of them, but for the most part, you're going to stick to poly. So like if you want to find that here, look how they kind of use this pole as a kind of a guide, what you want to call it, like a crash barrier type thing, to kind of guide you around this road a little bit. Let me see if I can find the metal one. You probably know what that is anyways, but this map has a lot of dirt paths. I don't see any of the metal crash barriers, but looking into town, let's see. They've got a cropped piece here. So this is, I believe, what would that be? It'd be one of these two. It'd be in the vector tool. I believe they use for a, what is it called? Is it called garden? No. Oh, that's right. You can't put stuff in here. Force a habit. So I forget what exactly that's called, but notice how there's nothing here that it is giving you to choose for this. I've seen it when I've looked through all this stuff before, but I can't click on it. Let's see. Again, I'm taking a look for my first time here myself, so There's another one. So, they like to use this stuff here. You got a store, shop. Look how they use a cobblestone paint texture to get in here. These are some asphalt smudges. That's actually really cool. I actually really like that. I'm actually going to take a screenshot myself here. And there is that. I'm trying to get that grate. That drain is its own decal. See if I can find it for you, because that one's pretty cool looking. Drain channel. Doesn't show a picture. I think it's called one of these, but I think the channel might actually be kind of bigger, like a longer, almost kind of like that, but a different look to it. Kind of this, but that long. So that's what's on the whole thing here. What's that? Okay, so that is a decal asphalt patch. So okay, they use a lot of decals. That's actually really good to know. Curbside weeds. Huh. It's a pretty small little detail there they've got. All right. Trying not to spend too much time on this, but all right. So piers is another good one. You know how they do their piers, the harbor. And I don't know if there's a way to see what texture they use, because you can't bring up the terrain tool when you're looking at these worlds, because they don't want you modifying it like that, to the best of my knowledge. Let's I was hoping to find there was I'll maybe try to bring up the picture, but so different things, just all kinds of different stuff in here. Again, it's just kind of looking to seeing what they use in their world. Let me load up, or can I just find the pictures just to save some time? Is this it? Let me see. All right, let me load up the other one real quick. I may cut. All right, so we're looking at the Eden map right now, which there is just one specific place I was looking for. I'm sure other places have it, but at least this has a little bit more military stuff, so you can see how they lay out their military. It's a lot different looking at it in the editor, because you're seeing what they're using for stuff. It's been so long since I've actually played the game that I forget where everything is. Oh my goodness, where is it? There we go. All right, so we're in this city here. There was something I'd seen in the city that I thought was a pretty cool way they did stuff. Where did it go? This isn't exactly it, but look how they've got the terrain. It's not flat. They've got some shape to the terrain. That's something I need to fix in mine. A lot of times I'm doing stuff, it's flat. So I'm kind of going back to some of my old areas and just kind of adding some more flair to them. Just my skill has changed a little bit. My art style's changed a little bit. But like for example, this here, on this side, looks like the terrain's kind of a little bit higher, so it's only a couple steps. But over on this side, it's maybe like a step lower you need to go. You look and see what they're using for this stuff. There's actual door steps, not just stairs, but they're like these platforms. They got this stuff here, some flower pots on the window. That wasn't the exact spot I was looking for, but that kind of got one of the ideas I was looking at. Man, where is it? All right, so I'm going through some of the screenshots I've taken. This one here is pretty cool. Look how the terrain's kind of going down, but they still keep it level and flat with the house or shed, whatever this is. I can't tell. From using something like those doorsteps. There's all kinds of stuff here. This is a generator, I believe, that they used for this. I forget the exact name of it, but there's all kinds of stuff. There's this here. Like this is actually a pier. It's who would think that you would take a prefab made for a pier and have it be kind of a I don't know what you call it, like a platform for the picnic tables. So you can get pretty creative with what you do. There was one specific spot, and I'm going to kind of skim as I talk. There was one specific spot that used a pier kind of on the outside of this house, or outside of a house, with some ramps up, kind of like this, but again, using the pier. I actually kind of use that same idea in my map. It's just really cool stuff. You just see what they do. I highly recommend you do this at least in the beginning. This was a refresher I needed for myself as well. So definitely take a look at this. Hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully you find some really cool items. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.